Oh, YouTube! What is up? I am Taylor. Welcome back to my channel. This is my weekly cranky-ass comic book review show. It's January 19th, 2022. I don't know, time either feels like it's speeding by or stuck. Not sure which. But I got a crap load of books this week. Well, that's it. I'm done. No, all right, let's do this. Worst to best, like always. Yeah. We're starting with The Devil's Reign, Villains for a Hire, #1 by Marvel. Chapman and Garcia, I can't remember the first names. I'm not going to open this thing up to tell you either because I just do not care. This book is goddamn horrible. I know I'm supposed to be at least somewhat like point out good points of books and like be like, oh no, like I should have a balanced review, like fair and balanced. Wait, that's not a real thing either. But this is awful. I mean, the cover's cool. There you go. There's my fair and never mind. I'm not gonna keep saying that because that's stupid. This is a bad book. I mean, there's not much of a plot. I mean, it's almost non-existent. It's just kind of what is just stupid. And the art at first, I thought it was gonna be like it's some kind of outsidery art and a clever play on a Marvel thing and all that. No, it's just not good. The perspective's all over the place. The size shifts from the artist. The artist has one of the worst drawings of Rhino I've ever seen in the middle of this book. And it's just, there's no need for this to exist. There's nothing in here like at all as far as the story goes. And like, it's not telling you anything new. There's a new team of Thunderbolts, I guess. But it's just, this is freaking horrible. It is truly... I mean, I'm mad at Marvel for putting this out. I'm mad I spent $4 on this. This is just bad. All right, better, but with issues. We've got Animal Castle #2. I also like this cover. And I actually don't even mind the plot. This is what Animal Farm kind of retold with a bit. I've never actually read Animal Farm. I think for the first issue, I kept calling it 1984. The other George Orson Welles novel, but no, Animal Farm. But it's a castle, so it's different. It's not a farm, it's a castle. Again, I've never read the original, because I don't know why. I just haven't. Don't judge me, people. Don't judge me. The art actually is fine. The story actually is better than the first one and more interesting. The plot like starts to go places, and there's a kitten and a rabbit and stuff. The biggest issue, and it's a big enough issue for me to really ding this book and really hate it, is the lettering. It is so damn small in places it's hard to read. And I'm not sure that's 100% on the letterer's fault, although I think it is. The letterer bears a brunt of the weight on this one. It's just annoyingly bad. But I also think it might be part of the writing problem where like there's just too much going on as far as like word bubbles and word squares, whatever you want to call them, that the art of letterer really had to shrink things down to fit things in. At first I thought, I was like, well, maybe all the art was shrinkeded. Words are hard. I don't think that's the case. I just think it's just atrociously obnoxious, and it either needed an editor to come in and say, cut out half this goddamn dialogue so the letterer has an easy job, or the letterer just needs to like take over some of the artwork and make the shit big enough to read. This is annoying. It's really annoying. Animal Castle #2. Yeah, I'm gonna switch these around. This is what I do, people. I just kind of do these on the fly, and like I'm going on like emotions and thoughts and feelings, and I don't really have a logical order. But anyways, regarding the Matter of Oswald's Body #3, again, I really like this cover. So maybe if I like the cover, I'm gonna hate the inside of the book. Maybe that's what's going on this week. Not really, but I don't hate this. This is like a conspiracy theory, Oswald, Kennedy assassination. Yada, yada, yada. Team of misfits put together to do some shenanigans. It's just, this is kind of okay. Chris Cantwell's writing. This is the least interesting issue of this. And the art also is the least interesting by Castellanguida. It's not bad. It's just kind of, there's nothing here to make this stand out. And there's a thing at the end where you're like, oh, well, that was pretty freaking predictable if you've like paid any attention to what's going on in the series at all. But I think it's supposed to be the big cliffhanger reveal at the end of it all. And it just fell flat for me. It's fine, and we are at the fine point of the review, the 6.0. We're in the 6.0 section, and the 6.0 section is large this week. There's a lot of fine books that are not truly awful, but they're just kind of from the sin of mediocrity, and that's this. Boom Studios, it's okay. I'm gonna still read it. I'm 3 issues in. I think there's 5 issues, right? So I'm past the halfway point. I'm invested, and I want to know how this wraps up. but it's a mid. I'm hoping it's a middle issue lull, and I'm hoping it picks back up. But this is just kind of a dull one for me. So yeah, yeah. All right, we'll do this. Maw number 5. This is the last issue of this one. Also Boom Studios by Jude Ellison S. Doyle and A.L. Kaplan. This is a horror book that does a lot of sexual abuse and tragedy and revenge, and this is the ultimate issue, the wrap up. And the wrap up, it just kind of, again, it just fell flat for me. It just, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad ending. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, like it's like really built up in the first couple issues, and then just tapered. This is part of that tapered downward. It's okay. The art is fine. The story's fine. It's just not. I don't know. Like I could have used a little bit more punch at the end of this one. And it could have used, like, I think there's still some loose threads that needed to be tied up that weren't really super well addressed. And then the ones that were, the way they tied them up was just kind of like, oh, all right, that's it. Now I know it's a delicate subject matter, and I know it's I'm trying to step on, like, I'm stepping on some delicate ground here, and I'm not trying to address, like, the topic of sexual abuse in and of itself. It's horrible, it's horrific. It's just this story itself. I'm trying to address it from the story point of view is just kind of, it's a shrug for me. It's like, yeah. Yeah. Speaking of shrugging, Silk number 1. Yep, this is a first issue of Silk. It's better than the last first issue of Silk I read, which it seems like they're rebooting Silk like every 3 weeks. I mean, could be wrong. It's just I really feel like I read the last first issue not very long ago. But this is Emily Kim with art by Takeshi Miyazawa. Sorry if I'm butchering that. It's fine. It's, Silk's out of touch with reality and, feeling old and cranky in a world that's kind of passed her by in the past few years. So I can relate to that. That's just my general life feeling right now. It's just kind of the fish out of the water thing. It's not either. It's sort of played up for a little bit for laughs, but it's not quite there yet. And there's a villain reveal, and there's like a thing. It's just like everything about just kind of feels like typical. There's nothing really that surprising about it, and like. And then there's parts of this that really try and be of the time and like edgy, and as far as like technology and social media goes, and I think it's going to age pretty badly. And I get that makes me a cranky old man just by saying that, but it's just kind of, it already feels dated reading this. Like, honestly, like it feels like the social media that they're using in here to do it is kind of the past already. It's like live streaming video events. It seems to have already been replaced by other stuff like TikTok, where it's like a shorter form. Doesn't matter. Anyways, it's fine. It's not gonna break any new ground, and it's just kind of like, all right. There's probably a new villain in here, so if you're specking on it, also cool cover. So far I'm holding true. Cool cover. Actually, I didn't really cover them all. Kind of was boring, so whatever. All right, another cool cover. This is Jen Bartel cover, and it's a decent enough book. She-Hulk number 1. I like the color scheme, and this one we're probably getting Fine Plus now. It's another first issue. I've not been keeping up with Avengers, so I don't know what was happening with She-Hulk before this or whatever. And I this is kind of like the reboot. It's like, oh, okay, the reset, and now in their own title, because there's a Netflix, or not Netflix, the MCU show coming, so they got to have their own title, right? And so this is probably like, and it looks like this is really resetting her into like the typical She-Hulk thing, the New York lawyer, the quippy, the kind of funny. It's not super quippy. There's no real fourth wall breaking in here, which some of the other earlier series did with her. And it's not bad at all. I mean, there's a fight in here that kind of doesn't go necessarily the way you'd expect. And there's, a bubble bath. And it's just kind of a lighthearted, happy enough read. It's decent. I mean, it's decent. I've read worse first issues this week. A couple of them there. And it's not bad. I'll probably read number 2 and see how it goes. If number 2 doesn't grab me, though, I'm probably going to drop it. It's just not. There's not quite enough here for like not quite enough meat on the bone for me to like really give a shit. So I'll give it one more issue to see if I care. We'll see what happens. All right. Yeah. Next, we've got Strange Academy number 11 or number 15. Sorry, Jesus. Yeah, I'm a pro, people. I'm a pro. This is Strange Academy. I mean, it's good. It's not the most exciting issue of Strange Academy. It's just another one of those like slice of life at the school kind of things. There's relationships, there's drama on campus, and there's students making bad choices with villains. it's good. I mean, it's like part of my problem is like Strange Academy set the bar very very high, and this doesn't quite reach those heights as far as some of the other issues goes, but it's still a solid issue. It's Umberto Ramos and Scotty Young, like they are a great team. I dig the art. I dig actually the story, and it's just not to the heights of some of the other ones I've read by them. It's still a good read. I still keep up with this. There's not a ton that happens in this one, really. I mean, but there's some fun moments. There's a fun little battle between Magic and Wong. That's that very fun, very fun. And then there's students fighting each other. There's bickering and there's that kind of stuff. It feels more like of a natural read than the DC whatever Academy, whatever that stupid one I dropped is. I can't even think of the name of it. Teen Titans Academy, that one. And this just feels more natural than it ever did. And I do really like the pair of Scotty Young and Roberto Ramos, and I really like the art style of this. I think it works. It's cartoony. It's fun. It's great. It's just not, yeah, again, it's not fantastic, but it's a good issue. So. All right, speaking of not fantastic, but a good issue. Oh, hang on. My painter's tape fell off, people, because I just taped these all up. I'm a mess today. I'm a hot mess. Anyways. Venom, number 4. You can't tell by this cover because it looks like every other goddamn homage cover ever. And I picked it up because it's homage cover. I'm a speculating whore, people. It's what I do. I speculate, and then I flip, and I will probably sell this one. This is the worst, thinnest cover material ever, by the way. Like, it feels more thin than the rest of the Marvel books, and this is just awful. Like if this comes back from anybody with a 9.8, that's gonna be a miracle because like it is like paper thin cover stock. Now for the story itself, the Spider-Man's not in it. It's just another homage. I mean, I don't know if can you even call this an homage? This is just a straight cover swipe. It's a 300 minus the 300 over the background. I actually like it better without the 300, but it's just me. Anyways. Ron V writing this. It's a solid issue. It's Dylan Brock. This is like, and Brian Hitch on the art. Brian Hitch's artist again. It's serviceable. It's I like Brian Hitch's art. It's just really heavily, thickly inked compared to some of the more modern style of stuff, and that's not bad. It's just kind of the way he does it, and it feels a little. I don't know. It's good. There's Dylan Brock. Eddie's still doing Eddie stuff. There's a little bit of weird body horror stuff that goes on here that kind of ties into the previous series a little bit, and then there's issues with government conspiracy stuff. It feels kind of like an old version of the Hulk, kind of on the run, that kind of stuff. Like the Hulk TV show. Like you don't make me angry. That doesn't matter. It's good. I like this one. It's not fantastic. It's not Ron V's finest stuff, but it's Ron V on this. It's very good. I think the next issue is going to be Al Ewing in space. We'll see how that goes. Like the flipping back and forth of writers, I think it's an interesting idea. I just don't know if they'll pull it off. And so it'll be interesting to see if that actually works. But there's also probably a new villain in here. I'm not caught up on all of the Venom lore because, like, as a child of the Venom was an 80s, 90s creation. I stopped reading in there and like Carnage, I just don't give a flying rat's ass about. I just don't. And I really don't care about Venom either. I care about good writing and I care about good art and I care about a good story. And this is enough to keep me hooked on this. In spite of the fact that I don't care about the story, so I guess that's high praise, right? In spite of the fact that I don't care about the character of Venom per se, so I guess that's high praise. Yeah, I know I just repeated myself. I'm just whatever. It doesn't matter. All right. Speaking of stories, I'm kind of sick of that. Are solid. Batman, the Night. I didn't think I had this on my pull list, but apparently I did. I must have pulled it a few weeks ago and didn't unpull it. If I would have known the premise, I probably wouldn't have. Even though it's written by Chip Zdarsky, who I really like, and there's art by D. Giandomenico. The art's great. The story's not bad. This is the story of how Bruce Wayne became Batman. There's going to be some new wrinkles in here, I'm sure. It's a 1 of 10. And it's in some Maxi series. It's Zdarsky. I'm sure there's gonna be some twists. And there's something here. It feels more like a Robin story in this issue than anything else, honestly. Or like the Robin and Batman I just read a couple weeks ago. There's an angry young Bruce Wayne training, and Alfred doesn't know what to do with him. It's solid. It's good. Chip Zdarsky's a good writer. And the art, I really like the art in this. I am not going to keep reading this. I am just so damn sick of this kind of story. Like the market DC has flooded the market with Batman, and I am just tired. I'm either going to read this digitally on DC Unlimited, or I'm going to read the trade when it comes out. I'm just not going to collect the single issues of this because I just don't have it in me. I just can't justify spending $50 on 10 issues of this when the story's been told enough times that I'm like, okay, I get it. He's Batman in training, blah blah blah. We've had Batman Year One. We've had all this stuff. And I know there's gaps in the story, and like every writer's like, I'm gonna fill in that little nugget that no one else has filled in before, and that's what I think this is doing. I just don't give a shit. I just don't. But I mean, it's a good issue. Don't get me wrong. I just don't care. All right, we're getting there. We have Primordial number number 5 by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, colored by Dave Stewart. Gorgeous book. The art is fantastic. Sorrentino's art is a stellar. He's got this ability to mix between like kind of rough, gritty inking and that kind of stuff, and with a fine, finished, refined look. And he's really flexing in this. The art shines. The story, it is still light on story. There's not really a whole lot that happens in this entire series thus far, but it is gorgeous. It's a very interesting idea. It's what if the animals that were shot into space before we shot up people because we didn't care about animals. We're like, we'll kill a few chimpanzees, a few monkeys, and a dog. Who cares? So there's Laika, the Russian cosmonaut dog, and then I can't remember the Abe, and I can't remember the 2 monkeys. Anyways, that's what if they didn't die and something happened to them up there, and boom, that's this story. I think it wraps up next issue. It'll be really interesting to see how this wraps up, because I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. It's an alternate Earth thing, and it seems like there's a whole lot of questions that have to get answered in one issue. So maybe there's 2 left, maybe, but like given the way this has been paced thus far, it's like I don't know how the hell they're going to do it. I do trust Jeff Lemire, and I have been enjoying this. I'm just doubtful, people. I'm doubtful. I'm a pessimist. One might even say cranky. All right, we're getting there. We are getting there. Next we have A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, number 4, Rick Remender and Andre Lima Araujo. Sorry, butchering the name, I'm sure. This is the most verbose of the issues thus far. Each issue is getting more and more wordy. It's like practically, there's several pages that have dialogue on here. It's amazing. This is a revenge tale, a assassin tale, a kind of fairly predictable story thus far, but it's gorgeous, and the way they're telling the story is great. I love the fact that it's not dialogue heavy, and that the art is allowed to flex. It's not super surprising in this thus far. It's sort of like, it has a little bit of a John Wick feel to it in some regards, but also like Deadly Class. For some, just the way that main character's drawn kind of reminds me of the TV version of Deadly Class. Doesn't matter. It's great. It will read better as a finished product, as a completed volume. Just because, again, it's fairly light on story. So like Primordial and Righteous Thirst for Vengeance both have that. They're just like not the heaviest as far as like, reads. You can read them both very quickly, which is not necessarily a flaw. I know some people are like really like dense comics where it takes them forever to read. And I don't mind that, but I also don't mind like visual feasts. And this is a visual feast with decent storytelling by Rick Remender. So I don't want to give away the plot. Cause, I mean, even if I did give away the plot, it's not going to give away everything. But I'm not going to. So pick it up or wait for trade on that one. All right, next we have Moon Knight number 7. This is the start of the sort of second arc of Moon Knight, where Moon Knight is going after Zodiac and this new old maybe villain. They're trying to figure out who Zodiac is. So this is like we're going to punch our way through town to figure things out. Jed McKay with Sabatini on art, same team that's been together for this entire time, I believe. The nice thing is McKay sort of switches up some of these tropes and plays with it a bit with Moon Knight, where you think he's going to go this way and he goes this way, which is fun. It's not groundbreaking necessarily, but it's like, okay, Moon Knight is acting crazy, and he's got some really great lines in here where you're like, oh yeah, that's badass. Like, and sometimes you just want a superhero comic to be a little bit badass, and that's this. There are a few flaws. Sabatini's art, there's a couple panels where I think you're supposed to pay attention to things, but the way it's drawn, you're not. The eye just doesn't get led to where you're wanting to go, and so the dialogue has to fill in some lifting on there. But otherwise, this is a fun issue. Moon Knight's been solid throughout, and this is another solid issue. If you're not reading it, you're probably missing out on one of Marvel's better books, which is not necessarily saying much. Although, yeah, there's a few books from Marvel this week, amazingly enough. But yeah, this is good. It's Moon Knight. Next, we got a couple left. 7 Secrets number 13. This is the start of the arc 3, right? And you can sort of see not necessarily an end line in sight, but you see, well, maybe an end line in sight. The secrets can predict the future, and then there's or have 3 possible futures, I guess, maybe. Anyways, you learn a little bit more what the secrets are. You learn about the main character, and like who had a big revelation at the end of last issue. You learn a little bit more there. It's a fast-paced Tom Taylor read. It's with art by Danielle Nicuolo. It's a gorgeous book. It's a fast book. It's another one that would probably read better in trade paperback, honestly, because you can just kind of breeze through these very quickly. But I like it. I like it a lot. I got a little bit of flack for saying that I liked Firepower better as far as like a month-to-month overall entertaining read, and that's a different book. And I know that's not part of this review, but I'm sticking with it. This is great. Still enjoy Firepower more. They both have some similarities, story beat wise, and that kind of stuff, and like overarching like world themes. But this is a good one. It really is, and I'm enjoying it. I'm along for this ride. I will pick it up monthly. I'll keep reading it, but it's one of those like I probably should go back and reread the whole thing at this point just to like catch up on where everything is. So there you go. But yeah, it's another solid one. Number 13. All right. Next, we have a lighthearted superhero romp by Tom Taylor, which there's 2 Tom Taylors in a row. I didn't plan that, I swear. It just kind of happened. So we have Tom Taylor, Rodolfo Redondo, Bruno Redondo, can't remember the first name, doesn't matter. Redondo, Nightwing, 89. This is DC's best title. I mean, there we go. That's all I really need to say. It's not like this has managed to make Nightwing a fun series. You know, even though someone's trying to kill Nightwing. And there's death and murder in this book, but it's a fun and lighthearted death and murder. It's like Redondo's art is bright and vibrant and very kind of like clear and well planned out without being overly heavy on the lines or anything else. And like a lot, like there's a flat coloring by Lucas that really helps this. And the story itself, it's not, again, there's nothing really groundbreaking in this. Like it's fairly predictable as far as what happens in this story, but it is a fun one, and like sometimes I think superhero comics, especially lately, can use a little more fun. And Nightwing has been great since Tom Taylor took it over, with the exception of when it got shoehorned into the Fear State nonsense. Then it was okay, but this is back to being great. This is DC's, like I said, DC's best book by far. By I can't. Well, Swamp Thing might be up there too, but this is their probably the crown jewel right now, and pick it up. Yeah. That's all we got. All right, two more. Crimson Cage number 2. John Lees, Alex Cormack, and Ashley Cormack. Issue 205, ADB Outshot. This is low-level pro wrestling meets Shakespeare, and it is a lot of fun. There's murder. There's intrigue. There's a fight for the belt. There's everything you want in a wrestling match. And there's the 3 witches from, I can't remember Hamlet? I can't remember which Macbeth? Might be Macbeth. I don't know. I read them all in high school, but I can't remember. But it's got intrigue and everything you want out of a Shakespearean drama mixed with, like underground pro wrestling. and bookings and trying to like make a living as a pro wrestler with a wife that's sort of helped, or a girlfriend that's sort of helping and sort of hindering, and I don't know, I can't. It's hard to describe, and it sounds like it'd be nonsense. It is a little bit, but it's fun nonsense, and it's a pairing that I never would have expected to work, but it does. So Crimson Cage number 2, pick it up, people, pick it up. All right, and this last one. This is my weird pick of the week, but it is my favorite book of the week. I'm sticking with it because it has the most interesting ideas that I've read in a while. This is Bolero number 1 by Wyatt Kendi and Luana Vecchio, and this is about like. It has some. It's about a woman who is in love that messed it up somehow, and you're not entirely sure how. And some of that, like that, one of my problems with it is like some of it happened. A lot of that part of what I just described happens off panel. I'm assuming we're going to dig into it in the future issues, but like it took a little bit of like back and forth to realize, oh, I didn't miss anything. Like, but just the way the story is told is a little odd in there. But she feels like she's trapped in her life. She's messed up her life, and you go into details of some of it. You learn that she's had some issues, and you learn that she probably has struggled with life and messed things up and had some problems throughout, relationship-wise with her friends and her lover and her family. And then she's offered a choice to change all that. And the way the choice was presented is very interesting. It's a unique take on it that I've not seen before. And I don't want to spoil it because I think you should read it for yourself. It's $5.99, so it's not the cheapest book by Image. It's gorgeous. It's another one. I'll pull this one out now. Okay, this is definitely not safe for work, so I have to like be careful what pages I show here. But it's got some it's like cartoony, and minimal palette, but it's never mind. I think I might have showed some nudity there. There's a lot of nudity in this book, and very sex positive and very kind of forward on that, and profanity and all that stuff. So if that's not your bag, don't read this, and probably don't watch my channel either. But whatever. But it's like minimal color palette, effective storytelling, decent art. Like kind of reminds me of Paul Pope on the art, but it's not. And and the story, the way it's unfolding is interesting enough to me, and the way that like the potential of what could happen, I am down for. It's a big book. I mean, you get a lot of it's $6, but you get a lot of pages. It's a square bound with a really thin cover, which is the downfall of this one. But at least it's not a super glossy cover, so your fingerprints aren't gonna get all over it. But yeah, it's my favorite book this week. It's the most interesting of the bunch. It's trying something new, and I appreciate that fact. I appreciate that it's not like the same old, same old. Like this pile this week was been fine, but there's a lot of same old, same old. There's a lot of you could, if you've ever read any book or story or comic ever, you could probably predict 2/3 of what happens. Maybe not exactly, but like you can predict a lot of what happened this week in a lot of the books. And with Bolero, no, I mean, there are some beats to it that I think probably can pick out, and like the ending was like, interesting. It'll remind you of some other stuff you've read, but I think it's unpredictable in enough regards to make it interesting. That's what I've got this week. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you like what I do, please hit the subscribe, notification bell, all that crap, so you get notified when these drop. If you want to help us support the channel, you can buy merch like this It's Fine hat and t-shirts and other crap at taylorwinter.com. And as always, I don't know, don't be a dick, even if everything in life is predictable. See ya.